We're good.
Your arms are just too short to box with God. Hold one. Andre. Yes! From out of nowhere. Hold two. Armbar.
Who are you to doubt El Danny?
Still got 200 more.
This is Robbie Eagles.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
Hi, this is Mimic. This is 5 times the world's heavyweight champion, the Scrap Daddy himself, Scrap Iron Adam Pearce.
This is Brian Alvarez, and you are listening to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Welcome to the show, folks. My name is Josh Armour, and thanks very much for downloading Wrestle Radio Australia. This is our first episode.
Oh, yeah! G'day, this is Big Brody Marshall.
This is Brian Alvarez.
This is Dean Brady of the Millennials.
This is the Jurassic Punk Sid Parker.
How many of you guys have heard the term kayfabe?
Hello, doggers. This is Jay Hunter from OSW Review.
This is Matt Grim Basso.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
This is Scrap Iron Adam Pearce, and you are locked in
to Wrestle Radio Australia.
I in the game, I'm champion, I'm Triple H. Undertaker, I'm your maker, bury the brother like Kane. Ooh, 1-3, hit the tombstone, hit the choke slam on face. Ooh, yeah, like a macho heel, tell like I'm muscle. If you suffer like tomatoes, I'ma keep a couple models. Ooh, and you may call me HBK. When I'm tuning up the vein, you best be getting in my way. Ooh, yeah, I'm degenerate, I love it, yes, I love it. If you wait down with that, then I got 2 words for you, suck it. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, holding up the club. Let's be busy, 23, got me feeling way too sweet.
I was trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and it was just awful.
I've turned chicken salad into chicken shit. I will continue to do so.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. Put a square peg in a round hole, just never seems to fit.
This is Bianca Belair.
Hey, this is Kevin Owens.
Hey, it's Seth freaking Rollins.
It is the man, Becky Lynch.
It's Rhea Ripley here, and you're listening to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Hello and welcome to a new era of Lachlan's Backdrop at Wrestle Radio Australia. It's making chicken salad, baby. I am back. I am your host, Lachlan Albert. I'm so happy to be back and joined tonight by a man that I haven't seen in quite a while, Jeff Setti. Jeff, how you doing, mate?
I'm well, mate. I'm well. I honestly think this is the longest period of time that you and I haven't seen each other in almost 3 years. It's been about 3 months, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while. We do have to acknowledge, as James Cray in the chat points out, no Todd, boo. That is right. Unfortunately, the Podfather is a little bit sick tonight. So he's going to have to miss out, and especially with a wrestling show on the weekend that, you know, we want to make sure that we're all healthy for. Oh, I've got a bit of a funny lighting change there. That's all good. Yeah, you know, we want to make sure that he's at the top of his game so that he can help out Mitch Ryder and Bobby Bishop, because he's a face now in Pro Wrestling League. What fun. So we miss you, Todd, always when you're not here, mate. Little Gwiggly the baby is sad that there's no Todd. That's sad, Firax. But that's all right, because Jeff and I are here to talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling on Making Chicken Salad. And that means talking about this week, a new era, the show from ACW. It's been awesome to go and watch Adelaide Championship Wrestling, and I get to do my catchphrase because this show is free on YouTube. Take a drink for those who like that game. That's right. This is another show that's gone up on YouTube, start to finish. No, says Jeff?
No. Your catchphrase. Your catchphrase is, hey. Me.
But no, Matty Haas has said Prost in the chat. He's onto it. Look, and Matty Haas also says, forget the Macho Man Elizabeth at Mania. This is the reunion that has me crying. Appreciate it, Matt, in the chat. We love to see it. It's the dream team, baby. Look, let's get cracking into this ACW show. Once again, free on YouTube. Check the description if you want a link to it, or you can do what I did. This is literally how easy it is now. I just Googled ACW A New Era. There's an Instagram post that has the link to the video in it. Boom, done. You can watch it for free. It's a little over 2 hours of a wrestling show that you've got to do basically nothing to watch from start to finish. Fyrax says, didn't Kevin Nash tear his ACW? I think that's about right. Let's kick off this show with a favorite of the channel, and that we're not just saying that because he's in the chat. James Cray managing to get a win over Rocco Reed to open the show. Yeah, I know. I'd never heard of him before either. I'm kidding. I love James Cray's style, and Rocco Reed is like the perfect opponent for a heel Cray, right? Because James Cray is so in your face, no nonsense. He's coming out in the black spandex. He's putting the hits on, you know. And so when you've got someone who's a little bit flamboyant and here to entertain the fans, it makes Cray look like an absolute asshole, which is what you want him to do. For him to get the win in 3.5 minutes after, you know, going for a cover that looked like it was going to get 3 and then going, nah, not finished with him yet, and keep putting the beat down in. I thought this was a fantastic way to establish Cray moving forward as one of the big threats in this new era of ACW. What do you reckon, Jeff?
I really, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I really liked Cray's work in this. He's a good, nasty heel who can back it up. And this is another instance of him backing it up, which is a really good heel. I like that kind of heel. I think, and I think his opponent, whose name just eludes me for the moment, you did mention him. I think he was so good in his role.
Rocco Reed, yeah.
Rocco Reed, thank you. And I really like the submission that Cray used. I think that's the stretch plum. No, not the stretch plum. I can't remember what it's called. Brock's used it, and a few others have used it.
Muffler.
The what? Sorry, muffler.
Stretch muffler.
Stretch muffler. That's it. I really, really nice work in that as well. Just all round a good beat down superior heel match.
And a really good way to start off a show. I like when you get a show and it starts off with, here's a match that goes under 5 minutes. You understand these characters. You don't necessarily need it to be a bunch of high spots and a bunch of near falls. What they're showing you is, hey, really quickly, here's what the wrestling is going to look like. It's going to be a bad guy and a good guy, and the bad guy sucks. But because he's being a jerk, he's probably going to get the win. So you need to support the good guy. Love that as far as like establishing the match card goes. I will mention, while we're here, I think the broadcast team for this was fantastic. You know, there's a little bit of that Riot City love clearly spreading into ACW as we see more of the crossover here. And the result is that we're getting to see some people that, you know, you and I have seen a little bit more watching more of the Riot City stuff, but also lifting the game of everyone involved as far as the broadcast of the show goes.
And having fun with their roles too.
Yeah.
And specifically a group that comes out.
We're about to talk about some people who are having a lot of fun with what they're doing.
We will talk about them soon. The only problem I had with the announcers is on occasion, the music or the noise overwhelmed them and you couldn't hear them properly. That probably just a teething error, and I'm sure it'll be sorted out soon. James Cray is threatening us with a new submission hold, he's saying. Is it the bionic noogie?
It's the big atomic wedgie where the undies come up over the head. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we're back, baby.
And Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges is bang on. I love announcers telling stories to unfamiliar viewers. Yeah, like coming into this ACW show and going, you know, there's a lot of people on here that I wasn't immediately familiar with. Some that I was more familiar with, some that I was totally new to. And having a team who could, you know, give you a reliable read on what people were doing, what their place in the company was. Even when I was a bit confused by what some of the matchups were, having that grounding of an announce team who is able to communicate what's happening in the ring, but also why it's happening, the history of these people, makes such a difference, right?
It does. It really, really helps. And these guys, unquestionably very, very good at transferring that kind of information quickly. I really like them. I think that ACW will be RCW's feeder fed almost. So almost their NXT, where people can go and mess with images and gimmicks and things like that.
Absolutely. And we saw some of that coming up here. But in the lead into what we're talking about there, first off was an ACW tag team title match with the champions Stoked and Broke, Chase Magnum and Malachi Slick, taking on the Physicals, Jimmy Castle and Johnny Jets. Now, this seems like one of those shows where most of the matches have a Wrestle Radio Australia favorite performer in them. And obviously, the Physicals at the moment are someone that we are not shutting up about, because they are so much fun. They get exactly what their role is. And Stoked and Broke, in a similar vein, really fun, really high energy. So it really confused me how much of a face versus face match this was. You know, it didn't quite make a lot of sense to me as why you would choose the Physicals to be Stoked and Broke's opponents when you could have a heel tag team in there, or you could have, you know, the Physicals not going for a title in order to have them, you know, get a set of heels to work against. But it turns out the reason for that is that after Stoked and Broke managed to retain their titles and a show of respect from the Physicals, out came the faction known as the Heat. That's the team of Banjo, Powers, Snacks, and Vincent Di Maria, led by Matthew Hayter. Not Matt, Matthew Hayter. And what a collective they are, coming out with all black turtlenecks except for Matthew, who had the white turtleneck as the leader, and Mr. Hayter cutting a quite extensive promo about their plans to become the tag team champions here in ACW before, very predictably, you got 4 bad guys in the ring and 4 good guys in the ring. You know, it's time, player. They're going one-on-one with The Undertaker. No, wait. This is the other one. It's a tag team match, player. So the Heat managed to get the win over both Stoked and Broke and the Physicals in 4-on-4 action here. I'm going to let you talk about what you thought of the Heat here, Jeff.
I really enjoyed the Heat. I think that Hayter is a perfect person to front and center this in what will be the antithesis, clearly, of his Shawn Michaels type gimmick. You know, he's probably going to be very Puritan, almost Steven Richards from The Right to Censor back in the day. And it's clear that the other guys are just having a great old time at this one. And I think that it's nice to see this kind of gimmick. But I think that they don't want to overplay it. They want to just, you know, just let it simmer, I guess. Don't have them in every other segment. Like, just
look, as much as there is no way to underplay these gimmicks, right? Yeah. Like, they are through and through. I think they might need to clean up. They got some unsocial Jordan spilled on them, right? I loved the touch of them taking off their turtlenecks to reveal turtlenecks with the arms cut off. Just brilliant. Superb stuff there. I don't want the joy of the Heat to take away from how much fun the tag title match itself was with the Physicals and Stoked and Broke, because they were fantastic. But I think really clearly what you had here was you built up the Heat as opponents for Stoked and Broke. You built up the Physicals as, you know, rightful challengers who can get there if, you know, this went that slightly different way. The Physicals could have won it, but it wasn't their night tonight. So they're set up as, you know, if the Heat do get the titles, then you've still got reasonable number 1 contenders and you've got champions who deserve a rematch. I think that this was really well put together. It puts together a really great tag title scene for ACW, especially with some of the stuff that came later in the show that you could then convert into tag stuff as well. Overall, I was really, really impressed by both of these matches, character-wise, in-ring-wise. I thought this was a bunch of fun.
Yeah. I think every time I see the Physicals, I'm so impressed with their growth. They're not just fucking around out there doing whatever. No, each time they're wrestling, they're showing they're learning, and they're showing that they're really grasping it. And they're such nice blokes. Like, I was very, very impressed with them when I spoke to them recently. If you're looking for that, did an interview at Mayhem Mania earlier this year, and it's out on the Making Chicken Salad YouTube channel, where there's lots of interviews. So to digress, sometimes it's important to give that a plug.
You've gotten a little bit of the hosting bug, have you, Jeff?
I have. Speaking of a hosting bug, no. Yeah, I think that the physicals have a huge future. I really like Stoked and Broke. I think that they've got so much potential, and the whole thing together felt really good as a segment and as a total package. Big fan.
I also think, and this is, kind of an assessment on the whole show, calling this show a new era is really clearly putting together the fact that there is a lot of growth happening in ACW, and a lot of that is, coming together more closely with Riot City, getting those wrestlers who are doing the reps elsewhere and incorporating them in a holistic way into ACW. And so what we're going to see is teams like Stoked and Broke, I think, get more high-profile matches against people who have really, done the reps, who know what they're doing. And that's going to, rising tides lift all ships. You know what I mean? Sure. I think there's a lot of upside to this whole show in that way. And, that continues here, following on from this, an ACW Evolve title match with Kit, the former Kit Condor, coming out for his challenge. But unfortunately, a champion having to relinquish the title due to injury means that Joey Triton becomes the other member of this match, and the Evolve title on the line. I did have a little bit of a problem with this one just in terms of structure, and it's like I said with the tag title match, I felt like a lot of these matches didn't have a super clear heel-face dynamic, which made them a little bit harder to follow. And in this one, it really felt like Kit was a guy who has all of the trappings of a babyface and is working it as a heel. And I think he's doing a good job of it. But then Joey Triton has all of the trappings of a heel, and he's kind of coming in here as the babyface with a title on the line, and then the heel wins the title but celebrates like they're a face and they kiss the title, and, it's like they've finally gotten to the top of the mountain. It confuses me a little just in terms of the way that it was put together. Part of that might just be me being less experienced with these guys, having watched less ACW, but I just don't know that character-wise these pieces fit in the way I wanted them to. The match itself, I thought, was really quite entertaining. You've got the tough bastard versus the young speedy guy. I thought it was done really well. I thought Kit looked fantastic. I think that, I'd seen him previously as Kit Condor, and he was a lot of fun. And here you can see all the learning that he has done come into this, Kit character. And the match went 10 minutes. It wasn't too long, but it went for a good amount of time to have, the title feel won at the end of it. Like, it wasn't just, he managed to get the title. It was, no, he fought and he clawed and he got there. So yeah, I had some little structural problems with it, but I thought that overall the match was really quite good, and I'm excited to see where Kit goes as the champion with the Evolve title. What did you think of this one, Jeff?
I liked the match itself, but I agree with you that there was a disconnect in terms of character and in terms of heel-face dynamic. I also like Kit. I think Kit is going to be an interesting champion if he can work that aspect out. Because all of modern wrestling, all of modern professional wrestling is about a good guy and a bad guy, and that's where you get your buy-in. But it was kind of missing from this match. That is not a criticism on the match itself. Bell to bell was great. I really liked the match. I just felt that because there wasn't that clarity in heel face, fans, I personally watching on YouTube, couldn't buy into it as much. And I don't know, the audience weren't as vocal as perhaps they would have been had that been clearer, which definitely impacts the joy of the match. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think that there are ways to work around that. And I think, when you've got a guy like Kit he's been around for a little while, but he's not someone that I would describe as a ring general. You know what I mean? Yeah. And maybe that is more of Joey Triton's position. But I think with that, what you could do is give some really explicit Kit just cheating at the start, being a dick, getting a low blow early, right? Have Triton fight out from some intermountable odds early because the crowd's behind him. If you get some of that stuff in early and really establish this is the bad guy, this is the good guy, this is the way this match is going to play out, I think it might pay off a little more. And I could see that Kit, really appreciated winning that title. There's part of that is not the character, that's the person. But I think that when you do have that person come through, it can muddy up the position of the character a little bit. So I think maybe my suggestion here would be to clarify that a little more with what the characters are doing in the match to feed back to who they are in this world. But I think the match was really good. So if they can work out that structural part of it, the match is, in the right place for it to be easier to get a grip on.
I also think that there was an opportunity for Kit, if he was being the heel, to heel it up after the championship was relinquished because of injury. Yeah. And I think that had he gone there and sort of done I don't care, you mean nothing to me, blah, 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 pie-faced her or something, and then grabbed the title and held it up straight away. There's a heel. That's defined.
And it doesn't matter who then comes out. You want to see their ass get kicked.
Yeah, even if he's not good on the mic and he doesn't want to do that kind of thing, just walking up and pie-facing her and grabbing the title, that achieves the same thing.
Hold the title, couple of crotch chops, bing, bang, boom.
Yeah, insta-heel. Right?
Yeah. But I do think that, because I'm about to talk about 3 matches in a row where that face-heel dynamic isn't really clear. So I think it might be a little bit more on the structuring than the individual performers. Now, I always think that if you're in that situation as a performer, there are things you can do to work around it. But I think moving on to this next match, the women's tag team match, we can see that we had a title. And it's so strange because the opening match, that was exactly what I was saying was brilliant. We had a really clear heel, a really clear face. The heel was a jerk. You wanted to cheer for the face. That was perfect. And then they went, okay, let's have Stoked and Broken, the physicals, go at each other. Let's have Kit be the heel and Triton be the face. And then there was this women's tag team match where I genuinely wanted to cheer for everybody. So there is this slight confusion, but this women's tag match had Axe Massacre and Izzy Shaw taking on the team of Leah Lovegrove and Mickey Fortune. I like this character of Leah Lovegrove, who is the fan, and that meant that Mickey Fortune kind of got to shine as the woman's legend here. And on the other side, having Izzy Shaw, who's got a fair bit of experience behind her, and Axe Massacre, who is a hot young talent right now. I think that was a good dynamics, even if the face heel stuff wasn't as clear. I won't talk too much about this before passing it on to you, Jeff. What did you think of the women's tag?
I liked it. I like all 4 of these workers. Axe Massacre is so unique and so kind of different. There's no one like her in Aussie wrestling at the moment, so it's kind of nice to see that strong character already. And like, we say that you won't get a bad Robbie Eagles match. You won't get a bad Mickey Fortune match.
Fortune, she's magic.
She is so good. So freaking good at what she does. She clearly really loves wrestling. And she's a great ambassador for whichever company she wrestles for. I like this match so much. For me, this was pretty close to the match of the night, just because you could see that the four of them really worked in together and well together, and really a great first ladies match for the new era for RCW, because boy, it's got great wrestling. Really
absolutely. And I think that, like, if we look at the last two matches on the card, like, obviously they are much bigger types of matches, and both of them went for at least double the time that this tag match went for, right? So considering that, like, obviously the in-ring gets to shine a little more in those longer matches. Whereas in this, under 9 minutes, they had 4 characters that were fully established. You got to understand who everyone is. The tag teams themselves got to have dynamics. It was interesting to see the way Izzy and Axe kind of didn't work together with the way Leah and Mickey were trying to work together but couldn't quite make it click. I thought the storytelling was phenomenal. I love that it ended with Axe Massacre pulling Mickey Fortune in the way of Leah Lovegrove coming off the top rope. And then post-match, you get Mickey pushing Leah Lovegrove as like a, you cost me this match. That little bit of the heel spice that comes through there, where Mickey can play either role so well that you don't have to worry about what she's doing, and you can have that little bit of a turn at the end there. I thought this match was an absolute cracker, and I thought all 4 of these women should be immensely proud of the work that they did here. I thought they nailed it.
Especially some of the younger members of that roster. Like, they're not, like, you know, you've got one very wonderful and experienced hand in that ring, and the other, you know, one that's moderately experienced. Let's be honest, Axe Massacre is around a bit, and she's getting some work overseas. And then you've got...
But Axe Massacre's younger, like, less experienced than pretty much anyone realizes, I think. She really hasn't been doing it that long. Like, the quality of her wrestling belies how fresh she is.
She's great, like, fantastic. And to, you know, relative newcomers, what a fantastic match. And the reason I'm saying it's my match of the night is I believe the purpose of shows like Mayhem's shows and ACW shows is so you can find these nuggets of gold and sort of go, well, there's my person. That's my person.
Yeah, that's it.
And the last 2 matches I always expected to be phenomenal, and they were. Shock, spoiler. But this was my match of the night because this was discovering new people that I didn't know. I'd heard of Leah Lovegrove, obviously Axe Massacre I'd heard of, but didn't know Izzy. And I think she was really good, and it was really wonderful and surprising.
Yeah, I'll just give, you know, that little bit of extra context to Axe Massacre. I went to just confirm how long she has been wrestling by going over to Cage Match. Axe Massacre does not have a cage match profile. Right. That's how fresh to wrestling she is, right? So the quality that she's delivering at that level, I think, is unbelievable, right? Very, very impressive. But that can be said of, you know, all of these. I think this match was great. I think Mickey Fortune is now one of my favorite wrestlers, full stop. Every time I see her, you get an absolutely excellent match. She's got such a great energy about her. I think Izzy Shaw is maybe one of the most underrated women in the country in terms of consistently putting on entertaining matches. And Maddie Huss says it exactly right. There's something in the water in Adelaide for sure. You know, the quality of women in that state, it's just magic. So,
and another really nice thing about Mickey, she's hilarious. Like we were lucky enough to have her as a guest in Adelaide, and she was so funny, just so funny, and chopped the shit out of bros at the end of the show as well.
And like, you know, not to be harping on this match too much, we are going to move on. But just the little things. The fact that Axe Massacre came out in a shirt that was the Dusty Sucks Eggs shirt that said Leah Sucks Eggs. Yeah. Like, those are the little things that just, you know, immediately get you attached to what's going on. So I massively impressed here.
J. Cole's chiming in. There's something in the water in Adelaide for sure. J. Cole's saying fluoride. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm positive.
Oh, man. That's got to be what it is. Moving on, though, we had an absolute belter. I'm just going to say that. Dean Brady and Sid Parker going one-on-one for almost 18 minutes and just beating the piss out of each other, really. Seeing an F5 over the top rope onto the floor for Sid, followed by a gorilla press over the top onto the floor not long after. Sid is someone who has been a favorite of mine for basically since I got back into Australian wrestling many moons ago, because he's not to say he's a glutton for punishment, but he'll go out there and he'll make sure the fans get entertainment out of the show. And like, talk about putting your body on the line for the fans. Sid does that every show. He goes all in, and Dean Brady is just one of the goddamn best in the country. What a tough-looking son of a bitch who gets in there, shows you that he genuinely is as strong as he looks, nails everything that he does. I think these two were really well matched up in like a speed versus power dynamic. I think that Dean as a heel is something that 2 years ago I wouldn't have been able to picture it, and now I think he's just about perfected it in this muscle mercenary character. I think Sid is so easy for kids to cheer for. This match was just good. Jeff?
Yeah, no complaints. No complaints. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting to see Dean Brady wrestle, which is always a treat. And you put him in there with someone like Sid, who obviously he's not just a high flyer. He has some scientific intelligence behind him as well. And there's a really nice, and they're both so good as well, that there's a really nice chemistry between the two. I think it was great. And I think that, Sid has really, really put it together in the last year. He's in what is currently my front runner for match of the year, which we haven't gotten to review, which was the Mayhem dog collar match against JXT, which is just some phenomenal work. I think Sid is so watchable, and Dean Brady is just so powerful that this is great chemistry.
And I think Andy at Bob Ackland Fridges makes a great point. Having been embroiled in this really big character-altering story in Mayhem, it was fun seeing Sid just be Sid and work a great match. And got to agree with that. And Andy with another point that he beat me too, because I was going to say it. The Old Guard music is incredible. The way that it starts with this just like ringing sound, and it's like, oh, the Old Guard's here. And then it gets into that like thumping rock with that ringing coming through it. The whole presentation is there. Matty Huss says both Dean and Sid are so on point with their pacing and how measured they are with everything they do in the ring. This was one of those matches where if you tell me that it's going to be Dean Brady and Sid Parker, I know it's going to be good, right? That's kind of one of the ways that sometimes it is hard to review these matches, because when you've got something like let's go back to the previous match. I think part of the reason we're so high on it is you hear Axe Massacre and Izzy Shaw versus Leah Lovegrove and Mickey Fortune. Those teams are kind of interesting. You go, are they going to be able to work together? So there's a bit of a question mark on it. And so when it's really excellent, that's awesome and exciting. When you hear Dean Brady and Sid Parker, you're like, oh, that's going to be really excellent. And then it is. Yeah. Right? And so it's a little bit harder to muster up as much enthusiasm because, of course it was bloody brilliant. It was Dean Brady and Sid Parker. But I think they did a great job. And I think that, if you like wrestling, it's a no-brainer. Yeah,
if you like good Aussie, hard-hitting Aussie wrestling, it's the match for you. Big surprise. Yeah. We liked it. It's not something. It's also not something where you can go, oh, they did this wrong or that wrong, because they fucking didn't do anything wrong. No, neither they would.
And I'm sure that if you're Todd Eastman, who's watched every match that's ever existed, and you're backstage talking with wrestlers all the time, there are little things where he probably goes, oh, well, that move should have actually been in that. But just casually watching it, even if there are those things that they do wrong, they're so good at covering and making them look correct that you can't notice them, right? I think they're experienced. They're good at what they do. This is a banger of a match. Just before the main event here, we did have yet another Wrestle Radio Australia favorite come out in the form of Mr. Cliff, who has the equivalent of the Money in the Bank briefcase here, with his little whiteboard attached to it with the list of current champions that he could keep track of. I thought that it's so nice to see him in a space where he's won things, right? Obviously, I love the storyline that's happening in Riot City, but it's nice to see a version of Mr. Cliff that's actually like a genuine threat to people. So that's really entertaining. And the way that he's able to interact with the crowd in those really easy heel mannerisms that fit his character, like someone will shout some nonsense out and he'll say, you have to put your hand up if you want to talk. Like, it nails the character. It makes people want to boo him. I think it's fantastic. And then having Corvidae come out and express his desire for the briefcase and get absolutely clobbered with it, I thought was great fun. I think this is an awesome way to keep someone with a briefcase gimmick doing stuff, because often what happens with that kind of style of prize is that they've got the briefcase, they go, ooh, I can challenge for anything. So when there's a big match, they pop up and they hold up the briefcase and then they walk away. And it's nice to see the briefcase being something that other people are trying to get, to make it a title in and of itself that other people want. So I thought that was a really fun segment. I think that Cliff was excellent. I think Corvidae hit his notes perfectly. Yeah, I was really enjoyed this.
Big surprise, I'm a fan of Mr. Cliff. I mean, his entire package is brilliant. He is going to make one hell of a face at some point. You know it.
Oh, yeah.
And it will probably be an RCW. And
yeah, that turn where he turns on the old guard's going to be magic. I can't wait for it.
The roof will blow off the place, and they're building it beautifully. Big surprise. Mr. Cliff is such a well-rounded character. He's improving in the ring so much. And I mean, that's probably partly why they put him with the old guard, so they can give him some pointers there and then and help him out there and then, which is something that we kind of overlook in the joy of the story. I really like this. I like that Cliff was almost a face by the end of the segment as well.
Yeah,
people are actually cheering him, so maybe they're teasing it down there as well. I really like this, and Corvidae is a perfect foil at the moment for Cliff's.
Oh yeah,
Cliff's shenanigans, I guess. But watch out, Corvidae, you could wind up on detention. It's fun to say that.
And Cliff's one of those people who the natural charisma is just so there that even when he's doing everything that you should hate, you're like, yeah, but I do like him though.
Yeah.
So I'm loving that. But moving on to the main event, the ACW heavyweight title in a battle of brick shithouses. It was Down Under and Tommy Knight just absolutely clattering into each other for about 20 minutes. But unfortunately, this one ended in a no contest after the interference from Dean Brady. But that wasn't the only person to show up, because after Dean Brady showed up, knocked around the competitors for a bit, that opened up the opportunity for Chris Basso, the RCW Grand Champion, to make his appearance and try to stake a claim at the title against Down Under. But it seems like he didn't want it right there and then when it got put as a tag match. So we've got our setup for the next show. What did you think of this main event, Jeff?
Oh, just great. Just great. I mean, Down Under is a great idea for an ACW champion. I really like that. He's a big mountain of a man. And his whole presentation of, kind of the wrestling crocodile hunter bloke, your mate down the pub telling yarns and shit like that. It just works perfectly. It's a bit of a throwback, but there's something really lovely about it. And, hey, shit, Tommy Knight battering mofos and having a great match. Never saw that coming. Never, ever. No. Tommy's amazing. He's one of our favorites as well. So this was never going to be bad. And yeah, they put together something. I was a little disappointed by the ending in that it's your main event. I always like something to end the night, like something to actually put a coda on it. But under the circumstances, as it led to the next show, you can kind of forgive it for the first couple to just build some storylines.
And I'm with you there because I was going to make the same comment, but I think part of what made me so much more okay with it here was that looking at the rest of the show, they didn't have a finish that wasn't clear throughout the whole show. Every match ended in a way that was down the line. Someone got a pin either by being a jerk or wrestling clean, but either way, the finish was fairly straightforward. So having the schmoz happen in the main event, it sucks that it happens there because you want that thing to cap off the show. But at the same time, if that's the one match that doesn't get resolved, you've got to go, well, I really need to know how that main event resolves. I've got to come back to the next show to see what happens there. And then everything else caps off nicely. I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, as I said, they're building stories, so you've got to give them a little bit of wiggle room. I'm not being uber critical of it.
No.
But the preceding 20 minutes, wow. And I really like Tommy Knight. I hope he makes his way back to MCW again soon because he's such a great big man. Actually, he probably will. He probably will be back soon, very soon.
I'd say so.
Sometime in June.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that the biggest part of the disappointment in the schmoz comes when it is a 22 and a bit minute match, right? And it feels like, oh, why did I just watch 20 minutes if it was going to end with some nonsense? Like, it feels like if you are going to have that finish, maybe a 15-minute match, maybe a 12-minute match, feels a little less like a deflation when you have that interference there, because when these guys are going so deep into a match, you want to see who can get that little edge out. So I think if you'd shortened this match a little and, maybe just given that extra 2 to the women's tag or something, that would have been a little bit nicer in my head. Andy at Bob Back on Fridges is right, though. It seemed over with the crowd, which is important. That can be a tough finish in a local wrestling crowd when you don't resolve anything. Yeah, absolutely true. And you don't even have someone clattering someone else with the title belt to stand on top of them tall at the end of the show. So I think the fact that the crowd were into it shows that the ACW team knows what they're doing here and they know how to put on a show that the crowd's going to respond to.
And look, if the ticket sales will tell the story, and I'm pretty sure they're not short of people for the show next weekend. So
no. And not just ticket sales, but streams, because this thing's free on YouTube. So you can go watch it. It's free. It's free on YouTube.
Oh my God, free on YouTube. You say
free on
we'd never
YouTube.
Get away with doing this if Todd was here. He'd be looking at us going, will you guys shut the fuck up and move on?
So head down to the description if you're listening to the audio version of this show so you can get the link there. But if you're here live with us on a Thursday night at twitch.tv/WrestleRadio Australia, head on over to YouTube, search for ACW and New Era, A_NEW ERA. It's just a weird show to say the name of. Matty Huss says, oh God, I'm going to be so plastered tonight with the number of times we've said free on YouTube.
It's free on
Search
YouTube?
for that show. Free on YouTube, yeah. Get amongst it, because this is a great, enjoyable 2 hours of wrestling that you can just sit down and watch. And if you're, in the area, you're spoiled for choice when it comes to wrestling, really, because if ACW are putting on shows of this quality, as well as Wrestle Rampage, as well as Riot City, like that's just some awesome wrestling going on around that Perth area. But it's not the only great wrestling going on around the country.
Adelaide.
Do you want to jump in, Jeff?
Adelaide,
not Perth. Sorry. And here's the comment from Todd. Todd says, "Shut the fuck up and move on." The fact that it's called Adelaide Championship Wrestling should probably have pointed me in that direction. Hey, I'm just so mixed up because there's
hang on, I've got Robbie Eagles on the phone.
Yeah. There's so many great wrestling shows going on around the country, and there's.
Can I just add one thing, Lachlan, before you wrap up on this show? This was a great show. I really enjoyed it, and the highlight for me was A, the women's match, and also just seeing people mess with their characters and have some fun and play things a little bit differently. I'm so looking forward to seeing what the crew from ACW provide in coming months.
And Andy's bang on. He says, this was such a great way to launch a new era. I'll be hanging out for the next show. Absolutely. So you know what? Absolutely get around that next ACW show, which is happening Saturday, May 17th. That's this Saturday. If you're watching live, that's 2 days away. It's called Behind Enemy Lines, ACW, Saturday, May 17th, if you're in Adelaide. So check it out. Michael Lee says, hey, ACW, if want to start a new era in Perth as well, I'd be all for it. Hashtag free on YouTube. Thanks, Michael Lee.
That's a great hashtag. Free on YouTube. Fucking
hashtag free on YouTube. Yeah, get the hashtag going. Look, and a special thanks to Michael Lee as well, because he does an incredible job. Number one, if you jump over to that Australian Wrestling Community Facebook group, Michael Lee put together a master post of promotions that put their stuff free on YouTube. So thank you for that, Michael Lee. But then the other thing he does is he puts together this incredible list of shows that are going on around the country, and we've got some highlights from them. We've already mentioned for the South Australia people that ACW is going on Saturday night. If you're in New South Wales, there's Integrity Sports Entertainment's Headstrong on Saturday, May 17th. And in New South Wales, you've got 2 options for shows on Sunday. Lucha Fantastica has the Anniversary Sydney on Sunday, May 18th, and PWA has Pro Wrestling Australia Drifters Wharf on May 18th on Sunday. If you're in the Northern Territory, Top End Wrestling's Harry's Birthday Bash is on Saturday night, May 17th. If you're in Victoria, MCW with a big one, High Stakes on May 17th this Saturday. We're going to talk more about that one in a second. If you're over in WA and you want to watch some Dude, Where's My Ring Perth with Long Live the King, that's tomorrow night, Friday night, May 16th. If you're on the podcast version of this show, it's probably tonight. Get amongst it quick as we publish. And up here in Queensland, you've got a couple of options. First off, IWA, International Wrestling Australia, are doing the Gympie Show, partnering with Wide Bay Pro Wrestling. That's Friday and Saturday and Sunday, the 16th through the 18th in Gympie. So there's going to be shows throughout the day there. That's going to be absolutely cracking. But also, if you want to catch up with Todd and I, PWL, Pro Wrestling League's got Doomsday on Saturday, May 17th, with some incredible stuff on there, including Mick Moretti challenging for the PWL title. So some big moves happening. But let's quickly...
Most of those shows will be after a period of time, maybe a week, maybe a month, but they will eventually be free on YouTube.
Free on YouTube. Yeah, that's exactly right. Free on YouTube. So MCW High Stakes, we mentioned, is going to be happening this Saturday. Now,
which is where I'll be. I'm going to be.
You're going to be there.
Yeah.
So if you're there for MCW, say hi to Jeff. I am pretty sure that these tickets are sold out. If you're in the area and you want to double check, the website is mcwtix.com.au. If I were you, I'd just bookmark that one if you're in Melbourne, because you know that at the end of this show, you're going to be hyped for the next one. So you'll want to buy tickets straight away because they sell out like that these days. And High Stakes is the kind of card that we expect from MCW. Check this out. MCW World Title on the line. Ricky South defending against Caveman Ugg. You've got number 1 contendership tournament first round matchup here. Carlo Cannon and Jean Wen, the Midnight 2, as we're calling them, taking on the Physicals, Jimmy Castle and Johnny Jets. You've heard us talk about the Physicals and how much we enjoy them. So they've got a big challenge there that'll really show their stuff. The MCW Women's Championship is on the line with Eugenie defending her title against Aisha, but the special guest referee for that match is going to be Erica Reed. So I don't know if that's going to go right down the middle as it otherwise might. Jarvis has his vendetta against the team of icons, and that's why he's going to be going one-on-one with Robbie Thorpe on this show, as well as that the MCW Intercommonwealth title is on the line. It's back around the waist of kind of the perennial Intercommonwealth champion Adam Brooks, but he's being challenged by the up-and-comer Ryan Rapid. As well as that, we've got one-on-one action between Lucas Fantasia and Lucky O'Leary, as well as Rocky Monero taking on Edward Dusk, who came up just short of becoming the MCW World Champion due to the interference of the Icons. So he's got some things to sort out there. MCWTIX.com.au to get ready for that next show. Obviously, that'll be streaming. You'll be able to catch that. I know I'll be watching it. Dave Pearson in the chat says he'll be in the front row. Love MCW. It's hard not to with shows like that.
This is going to be something. Yeah, this is going to be really, really special. The other thing about High Stakes is generally it's a show with a lot of match stipulations, and there's a wheel, and they spin the wheel, and then the stipulation comes up, and you can get some really interesting ones. I'm really hyped for all of this. I'm so looking forward to what I think it's got to be a comedy match a bit of a comedy match of Lucas Fantasia against Bazza O'Leary. I think they'll have fun with it. But by the same token, you'll see two of Australia's best young workers and two guys who are really, really making waves. Lucas Fantasia walked out of the last show, first time in last time he was in MCW, and the crowd were going fucking nuts. Just absolutely going cutting sick.
There's so many big opportunities on that show, you know, and you look at guys like South and Ugg and Brooksy who have been there just about forever, and they're having to hold on to these spots against the Fantasias and the Dusks and the Rapids and the Jarvises of the world, you know. So much good stuff coming up there. Also, if you're in Melbourne, this is one coming up next month. We'll just talk quickly about Renegades of Wrestling Indestructible 2025, which is happening on Sunday the 15th of June at the Northcote Theatre. Currently set for that is Mitch Waterman defending the Renegades of Wrestling world title against Tyson Reed, but there's also going to be a Renegades of Wrestling women's world title match, and that's very exciting because Tali is going to be taking on the champion Indy Hartwell, the recent TNA signee. So absolutely get amongst that if you're in the area. Again, those tickets are liable to sell out, so do make sure you get amongst it. There is so much good stuff going on around Australia, so if you want to keep up to it, I think you've got to subscribe to Wrestle Radio Australia. It's free. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on Podcast Addict, it's wherever you get your podcasts. You can hit that subscribe button and get everything that we do here supporting Australian wrestling, including Making Chicken Salad, which is live on Twitch every Thursday night, but also...
And it's free on YouTube as well.
It is free on YouTube, Jeff.
Chicken Salad, it's free on YouTube.
It is free on YouTube as well. So if you're on YouTube, it is free on YouTube. There's not just Making Chicken Salad, though, that we do here. We do a bunch of interviews as well. I did a bunch of interviews for people when the Australian Wrestling Super Show was up here in Brisbane earlier in the year. Jeff, you did some awesome interviews down at Mayhem Mania a little bit earlier this year. I think we've made the Podfather a little bit jealous because Todd wanted to get amongst the interview game as well, and so he's got an interview with the number one contender for the MCW Intercommonwealth title, Ryan Rapid, that's going up tomorrow night, Friday night, if you're listening to this on the podcast. So as a preview, we have a little clip of the two of them talking about if he was snap or crackle when it was the clown nonsense. So I'm excited to listen into that. But after that, we're going to have much more to talk about around the world of wrestling right after this.
Like moving into like when you sort of like really debuted on MCW, it was sort of like part of that faction with Mick Moretti, and it wasn't exactly awesome.
What do you mean? I thought that was a 5-star classic.
Okay, mate.
No, I'm sorry.
Which one were you? Snap or crackle?
I was crackle. And everybody called me snap. Everybody called me snap, and I was just like, and I never wanted to like fight them on it because it's not really something to like. So I'm actually crackle. What are you gonna fight about? yeah. It's like, oh, you're the other shit clown. Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I was say, was there a moment when they pitched it to you, just like, oh, that sounds awesome.
So when they first pitched it, they pitched Shadow Alley. You're in a stable with Blake Malik and Mick Moretti. And first of all, I was like, out the gate, you're booking me like this? Oh my god, whose ass did I kiss to get this? This is amazing. And then and then they explained it. You're the goons that kind of get like abused by Moretti and like help people get over. And I was like, okay, makes more sense now. Like I understand it. And honestly, I didn't complain because I am a bit of a mark when it.
Hello. Oh dear. And we're back. Sorry, we had a bit of technical difficulties there. You said you're a big mark for.
I'm a big mark for Jeff Hardy, and so getting the ability to do face paint was kind of like, I felt like I lucked out a little bit because I was like, oh yeah, I'll try and do some cool stuff, but I realized I'm not a good drawer. So every time I did face paint, it looked like the biggest blur on my face, and it wasn't pretty. But there's actually a really, really funny story with the Snap and Crackle names. So we were backstage, and Moretti was getting ready for a promo because that's how he introduced us, and he didn't know what to call us or what to say or anything like that. And I think I forgot who it was, but someone said a joke. Oh, you should call them Snap and Crackle because you're the pop, right? And we all laughed. And it was a fun joke. I loved it. I thought, what a good rib. We go out there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm cool, and I've got my top hat on that says hate, and I'm like, oh, edgy, right? And I'm feeling like this is gonna be cool. And he goes, we've got Snap and Crackle. And when he did that Crackle, I don't know, like, if you go back and watch it, you can see me, and I'm holding my thing like this. And when he says Crackle, I'm like, fuck. I was like, I was like, oh damn it, he said Crackle, didn't he? Yeah, damn. Okay, cool. I'm Crackle then. I'll rock that. And I just and I just see people I know, and they're like in the crowd, and they're like, Crackle, what? And I'm just like, just be cool, bro. Just be cool.
Just breathe through it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was kind of like a very real moment, but it was very, very funny. But honestly, I have no real complaints about it's definitely like not how like when you come into wrestling, like how it's going to be, like. But the thing is, you're working on their show. They're investing whatever time they have on you to put you on the show and for you to do something. And if you're not going to take that and try and do the best you can with it, then like I don't know what to tell you. Like I was grateful for the fact that they like even wanted me, and if they needed me to be this clown for Mick Moretti, I was like, absolutely, I'll do whatever you say, sir.
He's such a great talent. And
what a cracker.
Just a lovely guy. Got a lot of time for Rapid. It was funny. He probably wouldn't remember this, but a couple of years ago when he was doing the Clowns thing, I bumped into him in Thornbury, like half the face paint was coming off, and I just went, Rapid. And he just smiled because he's like, someone knows me. Like someone remembers.
Good stuff.
I've just got to go and do something for about 5 seconds. Do you want to just chat and then come back and do the whole thing, and I'll be...
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. I will just have a quick chat about what Alex Fireheart has said here, that they had a random thought but forgot to bring it up. A pitch for something that could be interesting to see eventually is Down Under as a heel doing a Wolf Creek gimmick aligned with a heel Edward Dusk. That's fun. I think that there's a major problem that I've got with it is that I just don't think that Edward Dusk is going to be able to be a heel pretty much anywhere within the next 6 months. There's just going to be too much momentum behind him for anyone to not be cheering for him. You look at what he's doing in MCW, he's clearly at the top of the food chain at the moment, just in a general way. But I do love that idea of like a Wolf Creek Down Under. I was thinking about the Down Under gimmick just before and how much it reminds me of just really old school Outback Jack, right? It's like, he is an Aussie guy, and that's what they were doing in America. And to be able to translate that as a character to an Australian audience and still have it work is a credit to just how good Down Under's work has been for the last few years at least, right? He has been absolutely rocking it, and it's really good to see him at the top of a company like ACW and having that translate into Riot City, where he's able to bring that title in, you know, like so brilliant. And you're absolutely right, Alex, saying, oh yeah, this could be like a year or two from now. Wouldn't have to be like this year. Yeah, I don't think it could be this year. He is just too hot.
When I just powdered out for a second there, were you trying to prevent Dusty from beating the shit out of you again? Is that what I missed?
It wasn't just that. Look, you know, it's always the argument in my head of, am I wearing a Dusky shirt tonight when we come to the podcast? Partially because I've got 3 of them in the cupboard, just being like, oh, I've got to keep as much of that as possible. Yeah, Todd's just mentioned as well, Down Under kind of debuted as that type of gimmick in RCW as well. So, you know, worth going through that history. And Matty Huss says, speaking of wrestling / Aussie movie parallels, that jerk dancer in Strictly Ballroom was 100% modeled on Ric Flair, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never watched the fucking movie, but you look at him and you go, yeah, that guy's trying to be Slick Rick.
That's Flair, all right. Welcome back to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show, where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. And we have a sad one that we have to mention, and that is, thank you, that is a passing of an absolute legend in the industry, and that is Sabu. Terry Brunk, better known as Sabu for his, stint in ECW especially, where he was ECW World Heavyweight Champion twice. He was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. You know, his uncle was the Sheik, not the Iron Sheik, the Sheik. And, you know, taking that and running with that gimmick for so long, to be able to have had a match 3 weeks before he passed is absolutely incredible. And the way he redefined a lot of what hardcore wrestling looked like, and the way that high flying could be incorporated into hardcore wrestling, I think is really, really important. And, we are paying our condolences to the family of Sabu. We'll also address a bit of an upsetting story that comes with this, which is some hate that has been on GCW around this. There's been scrutiny after an interview with Joey Janela was published, in which he intimated that Sabu was unfit to wrestle the match until he was provided a dose of the opiate substitute Kratom in response to pain to ensure his attendance, and that he still appeared intoxicated backstage when he arrived at the show. Really sad to hear, but for a man that, put his body through so much, that, obviously some of the things that he did were not good for any human being. Alex Fireheart has said in the chat, with everything that man put his body through, I honestly thought he was going to live a lot longer despite the shape his body was in. R.I.P. Sabu. It is impossible to believe that, he made it to 61 years old, maybe 60, maybe 61. There's arguments to be had, because he seemed to just be, it was impossible for him to die because he'd put his body through everything and he was still wrestling. And he said, what bummed me out about recent events is that Sabu had to do it. I remember Raven saying that for how influential he was, he should have made millions from wrestling. He was the most influential guy in the company that predicated and inspired the Monday Night Wars. Jeff, any thoughts on Sabu?
Oh, look, 60's still perceived as relatively young, and interestingly enough, the family have not disclosed how Sabu sadly passed. It's always sad when someone you watched only about 30 years ago kind of isn't around anymore. It's a little bit sad. It's a little bit sad, and you can see that certainly those the ECW stalwarts are very upset. You can understand that.
Matty Huss said
the wild thing is that Sabu was a very good classical technical wrestler from the outset, but he read the tea leaves of where the biz was going and took on his wild style. It's not unique. There's a lot of really good technical wrestlers who wind up wrestling hardcore because they feel that there's a demand for it.
And that's the thing, is that Sabu was doing that in what, 93, 92? You know, he was in FMW in the early 90s, right? For somebody who like was also doing standard technical matches, like just incredible. I'll say my memory of Sabu, and again, you know, I get to be the young one here, is I remember being about 10 or 11, right? And playing the wrestling games as they came out. And this is when ACW got revived in WWE. And here was Sabu as this guy who, you know, whenever I heard about him from wrestling fans, he was this guy who back in the day had done all this crazy stuff with, you know, the baby Rey Mysterio. He was jumping off signs and he was going through tables and all of this nonsense. So for me as an 11-year-old, seeing this guy who was like a living legend, who it was crazy that he was still wrestling, for that to still be the case a month ago is unbelievable. So, you know, what an insanely influential career he has had.
And here's a story. I think I can tell this one. If at any point I should shut up, just wave your hand at me, Lachlan.
I'll just kick you out of the room. Yeah, that's fine.
Some years ago, Sabu was in Perth. Sabu wound up in Perth, and some mates of mine had a hotel room across the way for the night of wrestling. I think it was back in the WSW days, like the way WRA days, because Sabu came for a WRA tour. And a mate of mine got a hotel room across the road from the Perth Entertainment Centre. That's how long ago it was. And they were out the back having a little bit of the kind of medicine that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And an American accent stopped them and said, "Hey, have you guys got any more of that?" And they said, "Yeah, there's some back at the hotel room." So he came back to the hotel room with them, went downstairs, and got really, really, really stoned. It was Sabu. It was Sabu. They were getting high with Sabu. And I am forever jealous of that. Like, I was jealous of that before he passed, and now I'm fucking, it's never going to happen. But, you know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, a very special performer. So it's sad that there is, you know, these conversations around his death where really it should be a time to remember one of the guys who really defined an era of pro wrestling and took it in directions that forever influenced what pro wrestling is. So that's incredible.
And you got to remember, without Sabu, then a lot of guys in ECWs wouldn't have had the notoriety or careers they've had. Taz has gone on to say as much. Taz is absolutely, and you know, he's devastated, and you understand it. But he said, without Sabu, I wouldn't have had the career I had. Like, just flat out not.
And you know, those are pathways that, you know, make it so that so many people have been able to get into wrestling. And if you track down the lineage, you know, play How Many Steps from Kevin Bacon, but with Sabu, it's incredibly small numbers. So let's take that inspiration and move on and talk about some of the new guys coming through, or even some experienced guys who are now showing up in places they haven't been before, like Jeff Cobb, who made his WWE debut at Backlash, involved in the United States Championship match in a very interesting way, seeming to be helping the bloodline, but also not quite friendly. So that was really interesting, and Jeff Cobb certainly made an impact. If you didn't see it, part of it was placing LA Knight against the ring post and then delivering a running crossbody into LA Knight into the ring post on the outside. Just some unreal stuff. Cobb is an absolute monster, and the little tease, that tiny little tease of, hey, Cobb versus Jacob Fatu could be in the future, with those two staring at each other. Like, delicious.
I like this a lot. I thought it was a very smart way to end this match because you couldn't have it be clean. You didn't want any of them to take the pin. Fatu certainly couldn't, but you didn't want any of them to take the pin. So it kind of tracks. This kind of thing tracks, and I really like particularly the way Jacob Fatu played that out. Like his confusion and kind of that hurt, lost puppy look he gave, because of course he spent 6 months. Almost the only thing he'd say is, "I love you, Solo Sikoa." That'd be almost the only thing he'd say. So having him hurt by this, it's just beautiful stuff. Alex Firehearts just said, if WWE want me to watch a PLE again, they'll do Jacob Fatu versus Jeff Cobb on one for a title or not. Yeah, I think it's coming.
Yeah, and WWE at the moment is really clever with knowing where the juice is in those big singles matches and drawing it out. So let's run through the results from Backlash, by the way. Starting with that United States Championship match where Jacob Fatu defeated Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, and Damian Priest in a four-way match to retain that US Championship with the help of Solo Sikoa, but more prominently with the help of Jeff Cobb. As well as that, we had Intercontinental Champion Dominic Mysterio defending that title against Penta, as well. The women's intercontinental title. Yes,
Lachlan. When you speak of Mr. Mysterio's intercontinental reign, please call him the greatest intercontinental champion.
Yeah, sorry, the greatest intercontinental champion of all time, Dominic Mysterio, defended against Penta.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dom has been doing some of the best promos of his career, which is incredible because he's been a good promo for so long now, and every interview that he does, it's just like leveling it up again.
He's done a Hot Ones contest with Liv Morgan, and it's so funny. It's like because they're playing up being a couple, but not really.
Yeah,
and it's so funny that Liv's face, because one of the questions is who's the most famous person to slide into your DMs, and she just grabs a chicken wing. She just said, no way. Grabs a chicken.
So good. Yeah, and like it's incredible how Dom has transformed into being so immediately hateable to just everyone's behind him. It's impossible not to enjoy what he's doing. Like, obviously he's the heel, but
the smartest thing they've done, there's two really smart things. They're not rushing a face turn. He's been getting good reactions, like face reactions, for about 3 months now. So since just before WrestleMania, it started bubbling away. They're not rushing a face turn. They're not rushing splitting up of Judgment Day, which I really, really like. And they're also letting him be him. Like, wherever he's going, he's being a 23. I think he's 23 or 24 now. No, it would be more than that. He'd be 25. Yeah, he's in his mid-20s. And the fact that they established that IC title through Gunther's reign and through Sammy's reign and Jay's brief reign, it's become the workhorse title again. And
Dom is 28, by the way. So like
28. My goodness. For someone who is still relatively young, to know that he's not the best worker in the company, and it's kind of cheeky that he's got this belt, but it's hard not to grin. It's really hard not to grin. And
but on top of that, and you're right that he knows he's not the best worker in the company. Him and Penta is probably the best one-on-one match that he's put on, and wasn't all on Penta. That was on him delivering the entire way through.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't forget he was trained by Lance Storm, so he can. He knows what he's doing. He's also got the genetic thing of not being David Flair. So he's got it all, and you put him in there with someone like Penta, who is such a freak and so athletic. Goodness, it's not going to disappoint.
No, absolutely. Moving on from there, the women's Intercontinental Champion Lyra Valkyria defeated Becky Lynch. I think that Becky as a heel is working for me. I think that Lyra is a good underdog babyface champion. I like what Becky is doing as a heel. I don't think that this was, an incredible match that everyone has to go watch. But I think it was really good and everyone delivered.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I agree. I think Becky's anger, if you saw her promo on the following Monday Night Raw, it's working. It's really working. It's a different Becky Lynch, which I'm enjoying. She's not being Becky Two Belts. She's not being big time Bex. No, she's being someone completely different. And there's a reality to what she's saying. And I'm really enjoying that. Even more so, I feel, than Cena. And Cena's justified. I mean, he put that photo up of you to begin with. And I think that this, just watching the two of them work together, they had a great match in NXT that wasn't mentioned as well. But this was something really, really good. My only problem with this is Lyra Valkyria's gimmick. Bird woman? Is it, I'm a bird? I'm an Irish bird.
She's a Valkyrie, right?
Yeah,
which
it's
is
a
like
weird one.
Yeah.
I want to like it, but it's a bit sort of 70s, 80s. It's a bit 80s, really.
Yeah, it's weird.
Becky might steal her feathers in tribute to Rick Martel. I don't, it's just, there's a disconnect with the gimmick, but in ring, bell to bell, God, she's good. So good. Yeah. And you can see, this was a good match. A bit surprised by the outcome, to be honest, because I thought the story was going to be Becky will beat her and then Lyra will, find it within herself to beat her mentor and Becky. But I think they're going to do something a bit different, and I'm quite happy with that by the same token.
Just while we mentioned Dom's great work in promos outside WWE, I do have to mention something that Becky said in an interview that clearly delighted her so much she had to try and stifle a laugh, which was that she was cutting a bit of a promo on Bayley and mentioned that Bayley was busy spending $100 a month to text her best friend and then couldn't stop smiling and get back into the interview, which was very funny. So I like that a lot. After that, on Backlash, we had maybe the most predictable result of the night, which was Gunther just destroying Pat McAfee in something that was a bit therapeutic, I think.
I like this more than I thought I would, to be honest. I think McAfee wrestled like a commentator. And that's a huge credit because he's actually quite good, but he wrestled like it was booked like you've got no fucking chance, pal. And we're going to make sure the audience knows that from the get-go. And McAfee surprised me just because he did one move, which was the moonsault. That was it. That was the only spectacular move he did. Otherwise, he did a headlock and mainly punch kick. Which is really good. He might have gotten a body slam or a suplex as well. I'm not sure.
But he didn't pull out every move that he was able to do because he was being a character who's not a wrestler.
Yeah, and I think that's really smart. Michael Cole's involvement was good. It wasn't to the detriment of the match. I like that. I really, really liked Barrett trying to tell Cole to sit down. Just sit down. Be quiet. There's another story at play there about a fascistic German and the Englander telling people to be quiet. They're doing something a little bit clever and sneaky there, and I kind of like that. Gunther doesn't have bad matches, and he didn't have a bad one with Pat McAfee of all people. Yeah. And the right person won, and now it remains to be seen who steps up to Gunther next, because I don't think this battle with commentators is necessarily over. You could almost say, I'm afraid I might have some bad news.
But it did, we have seen Gunther call out Jey Uso, saying that he will be, the next big opponent for Jey on a fucking Monday. But, it's all of those things come through. So we'll see what happens there. But onto the main event where we had John Cena defeat Randy Orton one-on-one for the last time ever in a match that was full of nonsense and chaos in a way that, these WWE main events often are now, and was, I guess, capped off by a little bit of a post-match interview as part of the scrum, where John Cena really didn't like some comments that were made by R-Truth. Have you seen this, Jeff?
Yes, I have. Firstly, can I just talk a little bit about the match?
Please do.
It was so silly. Fuck, it was stupid. But in all, the best ways. So enjoyable and so stupid. You had... Just so much silliness going on in this. That move where Cena gives him an attitude adjustment as he gets RKO'd. How ridiculous, but how good and how funny. I think this will be the last time they fight each other. And it kind of nicely reversed the roles and encapsulated every single very silly John Cena-Randy Orton match.
Yeah, there's so much there to love. I really enjoyed it. So for anyone who didn't catch the post-match press conference, R-Truth came through and congratulated John Cena, even though people say that he sucks and he can't wrestle. John did not like that at all. He said, Ron, that was over the line. And I won't have you say anything like that again or there will be consequences. Then he went to sit down and R-Truth said, I was just saying, and Cena got him up, attitude adjustment through the table and left. So
if we get Ron Killings from TNA, Ron Killings from the early days, the two-time champion, you will be surprised at how good a wrestler he is. He is a very, very accomplished wrestler. I think there has to at some point be a match of Cena against R-Truth.
There's got to be.
It has to happen. It has to.
And I think there's so many really clever things they're doing building around these main event scenes, right? And everything with Cena, obviously, I think there's got to be a rematch with Cody at some point. So that's on the horizon. There's the question of if Gunther turns his attention to Cena, that's a very, classic old school matchup we've got there. But I really like the way that it seems like this R-Truth match is bubbling in the background where Truth is finally going to realize that Cena is not his childhood hero anymore and he needs to take him down. And if they really truly put the WWE machine behind a high-level babyface R-Truth, the crowd response is going to be electric. It's going to be that Sami Zayn in Canada taking on Roman Reigns kind of pure white-hot fire.
If you remember, they did a similar thing with Santino some years ago where suddenly he got close to winning the Royal Rumble and very close to winning Elimination Chamber, and it was great. It was just really good because comedy characters are fantastic in wrestling. I love comedy characters. If someone can make me laugh, that's why I'm such a big fan of Chelsea Green, because Chelsea is hilariously funny. Beyond everything else, she is so fucking funny. But I really, you have to, these people also have to be great in ring. They have to be. It can't just be the laughs. That's where Minoru Suzuki is such a riveting character, because especially of late, he's become so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple of comments in the chat. Matt in the chat, Matty Huss says, with the AAA acquisition, we now have all of the 3 live crew in WWE, Conan and Road Dogg, to run in for the R-Truth save. What a great call, Matt. That would be delicious.
To kind of stumble in, because Conan unfortunately has leg issues.
Yeah.
And like Road Dogg, he'll be taking up the rear. He's put on. He's looking healthy as the boy. Alex Fire then says, "Not going to lie, I almost would have expected them to make R-Truth a heel lackey for Cena based on the John Cena, my childhood hero meme. But I guess R-Truth facing him again could be interesting. He's going to lose even worse than his last attempt, most likely. But still, no, I think he's got a redemption story of taking Cena to the limit and then getting pinned. Because I think that Cena wants to show just what he can do in this last year. Now that he's got that belt, like the man John Cena, not the character.
And John is the kind of guy who wants to have those matches with those people that, you know, have been part of his career, I think. I did hear
also, there is one more name that you didn't mention, and I think it's happening at Money in the Bank for reasons. And that name is CM Punk.
Yeah,
because
there's
there's
juice in that orange.
It has to be at Money in the Bank. Has to. Because Money in the Bank was, you know, so big for those two guys.
And then you have Cena lead through the audience and blow a kiss.
Yeah.
You know, so there's when you've got the career of John Cena to build from, you know, there's
maybe don't do it in Chicago. Maybe running through a crowd of random Chicagoans.
So yeah, look, but there's more coming up in WWE as well, because Saturday night's main event is going to be on Saturday, May 25. That's what, like 10 days away. It's the Saturday after this coming Saturday. It's going to be, get this, free on YouTube. Can you believe that?
Free on YouTube.
Free on YouTube, I say. Matches that we know are going to happen are Jey Uso defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Logan Paul, as well as CM Punk and Sami Zayn taking on Paul Heyman's crew of Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker. So those are two exciting matches there. You know, WWE is putting all of the steps in the right places at the moment. It's hard to argue with anything going on except Chelsea Green not having a title, but I'm sure that that's just because she's going to be Women's World Champion very soon, so that's fine. Moving on. What do you think of that one, Jeff? Yep.
I couldn't disagree. I can't disagree. You're 100% correct. I think that they're going to build towards her against Tiffy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's money. Yeah. Moving on to AEW. Fightful Select Sean Ross Sapp has been talking about former AEW TBS champion Willow Nightingale. There was conversation of her being in her contract year. Beyond that, reports that AEW was interested in keeping her. It was a priority that they'd said. Immediately after that story came out, the deal was done, apparently. Fightful Select has confirmed that Willow Nightingale is re-signed with AEW on a multi-year contract, which... no surprise for me there. Willow has been nailing it. Everything she's been given, she's been delivering on. So that makes sense to me.
She's so good for two reasons. One is, I mean, she's just one of the most natural baby faces you can look at. I don't know if she works heel ever.
How could she?
Because she's got that smile and that personality that just rings through with everything she does. Also, she's great in ring. Absolutely brilliant. You know.
Yeah, just big upside. We've got AEW Double or Nothing coming up in 10 days' time on Sunday, May 25th. Here's what's currently on the card. It's got the Owen Hart Foundation's Men Tournament Finals. It's going to be Will Ospreay versus Hangman Adam Page. The Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament Finals is going to be Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter. We've also got the AEW Women's World Championship on the line with Toni Storm defending against Mina Shirakawa. And the AEW World Tag Team Championship will be on the line. The Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, are going to have opponents, and those opponents are either going to be CRU, Action Andretti and Leo Rush, or the Sons of Texas, Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes. And then I've got written down here, probably tons more. I've put Adam Cole versus Max Caster, ?
Samosa Joseph against Mox, maybe?
Maybe. You know, we've got probably something for Kyle Fletcher, because they're big on Kyle Fletcher at the moment.
Probably
presume
Konosuke.
Yeah, you know, there's going to be a lot on the card. You know, there's this Hurt Syndicate storyline going on with MJF, maybe something to do with that involved in this tag match. There's a lot going on. Yep. Alex Firehart in the chat says, for the love of God, please have Jamie Hayter win.
Nope.
Not allowed.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
You got to pay $100 a month if you want to tell someone that should happen. Yeah, like, you know, I'll quickly, if you're averse to spoilers, shut your ears, because I'll quickly run through Beach Break Dynamite, which has happened just today, I believe. So the results for that on Dynamite are as follows. We had Hangman Adam Page and Will Ospreay beating the Don Callis family, Takeshita and Josh Alexander. We had Ricochet beat Zach Gowen by pinfall. We had the Hurt Syndicate beating Top Flight by submission for that in that World Tag Team Championship eliminator there. And then we had Mina Shirakawa defeating Timeless Tony Storm, Sky Blue, and Azumi in that four-way eliminator match. So that's leading into, obviously, that Mina Shirakawa Tony Storm match, as well as John Moxley defeating Samosif Joseph by pinfall in a steel cage, because Moxley cannot wrestle a match without a gimmick. Collision's also been recorded. I don't have the results for this, but it's going to be Anna Jay versus Megan Bain, CRU versus Sons of Texas to decide on who's going into that title match. Kyle Fletcher versus AR Fox, Blake Christian versus Speedball Mike Bailey, which will be a banger. I am excited to watch that. Learning Tree versus Gates of Agony, Bandito, Brody King, and Tomohiro Ishii versus the Don Callis family, and then Wheeler Yuta versus Powerhouse Hobbs. In the chat, Andy Bob Ackland Fridges says, stunned that money wouldn't even take the fall for Azumi. Yeah, there you go. Autocorrect. Love the autocorrect. Yeah, so, you know, there's all sorts of stuff. Sad for Azumi. That's really disappointing.
It's AEW is so interesting at the moment. It's becoming WCW quicker and quicker. In that the young guys that are there and some of the new guys that are there are creating such buzz and are really, really good. And some of their stories are getting really interesting. And then on top, you've just got Mox, who's just like, it doesn't seem like there's an end game with this championship at the moment. And I am hugely concerned by that. This is the number 2 company in the world. And it just feels bloated.
Yeah, it does. Especially when there's so much wrestling to watch at the moment, because, hey, Best of the Super Juniors is on, baby.
Oh, good.
Let's quickly talk about the standings as of yesterday. Right now, there are 4 wrestlers undefeated, including 2 Ichiban Sweet Boys. So, over in A block, the undefeated wrestler, singular, is Kosei Fujita, sitting on 4 points with 2 wins. Below that, on 2 points, we've got Hiromu Takahashi, Dragon Dyer, Ninja Mac, Clark Connors, Master Wato, Robbie X, Francisco Akira, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Unfortunately, that means Kushida, with 2 losses and no wins, is currently on the bottom of that block with 0. I think we might have all seen the absolutely incredible GIF from the match between Ninja Mac and Robbie X. If people don't know what I'm talking about, you'll hear more about it later. Then over in B block, we've got 3 undefeated wrestlers currently, Nick Wayne, Mao, and Robbie Eagles, all sitting at 2-0 on 4 points. Our 2-pointers with 1 win and 1 loss are El Desperado, Ryusuke Taguchi, Titan Show. And then on 0 points with 0 wins, 2 losses are Yo, Kevin Knight, and Taji Ishimori.
Bit surprised at Ishimori not getting a win yet, but it's only very early.
That's right. Isn't there like 10 matches that each of them wrestle or something?
Yeah,
so to only be 2 matches in, there is a lot of tournament left.
Yes,
but 2 wins is enough to very clearly separate what some of the tournament might look like. So, you know, seeing Fujita and Robbie on 4 points apiece is very exciting. I really like that Nick Wayne is up there in the undefeated spot at the moment. So I think that's quite cleverly done. Look, there's always...
I just think that there should be more cosplaying, as there is in a lot. And I think that everyone should cosplay as Master Wato.
I was going to say the thing that was disappointing me is Master Wato not in that undefeated spot, because clearly the tournament is a Wato showcase.
Yeah, it's only built for Wat.
Yeah.
Sorry, that amused me way too much, Lachlan.
Master Watto does have a win over Dragon Dyer, but did lose to Clark Connors, unfortunately. Clark Connors, really? Clark Connors is beating Master Watto?
Yeah, as he should. Master Watto is a phenomenon, but I mean he weighs 500 pounds. So what he's doing in here, he is the Chuck Norris of NJPW. He doesn't get push-ups, the world moves underneath him.
That's right, and he manages to be a junior heavyweight by when he steps on the scales. He just tells the scales not to push so hard on his feet, and they lighten up and they get him under that junior heavyweight. So we'll see. The Master Watto story continues to unfold. But yeah, mostly I am quite excited by how this is looking. And Fujita getting wins over Francesco Akira and Hiromu Takahashi is especially excellent to see because those are pretty big names. Robbie Eagles wins, by the way, have been over Kevin Knight and Yo, which maybe not as big names as, we've seen other people get wins over, but that's okay. He's going undefeated in the tournament, I reckon. So that's fine.
That match against Yo was absolutely great.
That was like a full 15-minute, that was crazy.
It was just some of those moves. Amazing. Amazing. And the reversals, really, really worked well together. Love seeing that.
Are you trying to tell me that, Robbie Eagles is a good wrestler?
I don't have to tell you that, Lachlan. You know that. He's a good wrestler and he's good at picking up when people screw up as well. Like I did last week in almost forgetting to announce him.
Our lovely sweet boy Robbie. He always good to see those people doing well. And speaking of people doing well, that's what the show's named for, right? Making chicken salad. It's about who does these great things, but we also have to acknowledge when people do not so great things. So we're going to start by talking about our chicken shit of the week and letting some grumpiness out. Do you have something that you thought was shit this week, Jeff?
Yeah, let me I just need to find the story. It is so ridiculous. So give me a moment. I thought we had a little bit more to talk about, so I apologize. I had meant to bring it up. I've got my salad ready.
Yeah, but I can jump in with my shit while you do that. And for me, it is to do with AEW Beach Bash. So again, if you haven't seen it yet and you're spoiler averse, probably skip ahead 2 minutes just to see. But this is about the main event, the Jon Moxley managing to beat Samoa Joe in a steel cage, but it happened with help from Gabe Kidd, who right now is on top of the goddamn world in New Japan, who is doing such good stuff. And to see him relegated to, being another person helping Moxley in this storyline that is going nowhere quickly, I'm a bit disappointed to see that. I would have liked to have seen Gabe Kidd show up in a way that made him Gabe Kidd and not a Moxley follower. I'm willing to be proved wrong by something exciting happening, but I don't think that was the spot for him, and I'm quite disappointed by it. Have you got some chicken shit for us, Jeff?
Yeah. It's Hogan trying to be relevant and trying to kind of downplay the fact that people think he's a piece of shit and just sort of going, oh, well, I got booed when I was in LA and, everyone's fine with it. And, people just expect it now because last time I was there, I was Hollywood. Fuck off. Just fuck off. Fuck right off. You horrible, horrible man.
Don't want to hear about Hulk Hogan anymore.
I know.
It's go away.
Yeah.
Go away, you raisin of a man. Leave.
Racist raisin, too.
Oh. Jeff, have you got something more positive for us?
Yes, I do. This is lovely. After Raw finished on Monday, and Raw had a really nice match of Rhea Ripley and Mia going up against, I believe it was Julia and Roxanne Perez. Correct me if I'm wrong. I apologize, but it was really nice. And then there's this lovely thing afterwards, and it's just like 20 seconds. And Rhea put it up on her Insta today, and she goes up to Mia Yim and cradles her head in her hands and goes, "I'm coming for that belt." And Mia goes, I would love to fight you. And then Rhea just goes, eh. And then Mia does a little talk back. It was so cute. Like, you can see that it was just a lovely moment. And I think that it's an overwhelming positive that, we're seeing the real people behind some of these characters now, particularly in WWE. Like Dom's going out and just being a 28-year-old bloke who's having a great old time. Like he's being interviewed as the character, but he's also being interviewed as Dominic Mysterio and having a great old time. And I think it's really refreshing that we're seeing this increasingly.
Yeah, we'll just quickly grab Matty Huss's chicken shit, which is Will Ospreay's comments about AEW being better than WWE in every way. Just take the high road. I agree, Matt, but more in the sense that I think, look, obviously Will is going to feel that way. He's an AEW guy through and through, and that's fine. But what we're seeing mostly when it comes to this tribalism bullshit is people go, I love that there's more wrestling around, right? Like, there are people in WWE who Will Ospreay thinks are good wrestlers and who he likes watching their work. I'm certain of it, right? So, like, celebrate that rather than just being like, this is the better place, right? So, whatever. Matty Huss also says, chicken salad, Natalya bringing back the Bloodsport gimmick for the NWA show she's appearing on. Give me more of legit badass Natty. Yes, Matt. Fully agree. My chicken salad, if you haven't seen this yet, I kind of don't know how you've avoided it. But as part of Best of the Super Juniors, we had Robbie X versus Ninja Mac. And Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges, by the way, is absolutely right about the Will Ospreay situation. He's being asked clickbait questions from interviewers. What do people expect him to say? Yeah, it's for the clicks. We all know it. Anyway, Robbie X versus Ninja Mac. I sent this clip to a friend who described what it is at the start. It's Ninja Mac does like a big back handspring over the top rope moonsaulty thing, and Robbie X does the classic Samoa Joe nah and just walks away from it up the ramp. And my friend said, why is Lachlan sending me a generic nope spot? The thing is that Ninja Mac does not just land off that moonsault. He lands on his feet and keeps back handspringing, chasing Robbie X up the ramp, who's like terrifyingly looking behind him as just a flipping Ninja Mac just tumbles up the ramp towards him. I think it's one of the funniest spots that I've ever seen in my life. I think that Robbie X took it basically perfectly, like doing the cool, collected, I'm not going to, and then looking behind him, oh shit, he's still coming, he's still flipping. It's superb. I think that this is exactly what Best of the Super Juniors should be. It's guys who can do ridiculous shit, like backflipping over the top rope, landing on their feet, and continuing to do back handsprings. Most humans cannot do that, but then they take the fact that they can do it and put an element of fun into it, right? They make it enjoyable. They make it watchable. I think that this is the kind of spot that is going to get Ninja Mac a lot more recognition because he is a guy who has been really good for a really long time. Andy at Bob Backlund Fridges nailed it. This was simultaneously the best and stupidest spot I've seen this year. Yep, nailed it. Alex Fireheart says Ninja Mac going to Japan is one of the best things that ever happened to him, evidently. Yeah, I think that it was just fantastic. And sometimes you see those spots that make you go, that's right, I love wrestling. Wrestling's great.
Yeah. But it's wonderful. The only person who does it better, of course, is Master Watto.
Of course.
But, just a beautiful spot, and the GIF is it made me laugh so much when I saw it.
It's superb. So I know that that's like a little one. We're talking about one spot, like an inconsequential really spot from a match in a big tournament, but it's fun and it's joyful. And
isn't that what wrestling's about? Like mine wasn't anything huge. Mine's this lovely little video I saw this afternoon while I was at the gym, and I watched it 3 times because I was like, that's so cute, I'm gonna watch it again.
Exactly. So if you want to celebrate like the joyful parts of wrestling, because I think that's important, you can follow what we're doing here at Wrestle Radio Australia because we like talking about them all the time. That's why this is called Making Chicken Salad. And you can join us here in the chat every Thursday night from 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv/Wrestle Radio Australia to get amongst it, like Matty Huss does, like Andy does, like Alex Fireheart does. You know, all of these people who make the show what it is are joining right here at twitch.tv/WrestleRadio Australia. But you can subscribe to us anywhere. It's free. Do it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, if you can give us a rating and a review, 5 stars really helps us get into more ears. Those aren't the only places you can follow us. You can follow us on social media at WrestleRadioAU on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Lachlan Albert. Jeff no longer has the evil social media, but he does use it to promote WrestleBrania. Jeff, can you tell us about WrestleBrania?
Well, I can tell you that we are not done for the year. We're going to have a lot more activity this year. And in fact, just pulling the curtain back a bit, Bros and I are meeting tomorrow to work out our schedule. So, we're really, really excited about this year just because people so enjoyed the run at the Bergie. We've had messages. We've had, all kinds of people just the feedback to the Bergie was great, and so and they want us back, and we want to come back, so we will. Yeah,
great stuff. And look, if you want to support us in other ways as well, it's not just the following. You can wear us on your bodies. That's right. If you head on over to Redbubble, search for Wrestle Radio Australia, you can get merch with our lovely faces on it. Or if you hate our ugly faces, you can grab the stuff with the logo on it. It's all at Redbubble. The proceeds don't go to us. They go to Gotcha for Life and Beyond Blue, 2 great charities that support men's mental health here in Australia. And, speaking of merch, if you want to head to Kickout merch, kickout.com.au, they got merch of your favorite Queensland wrestlers, expanding out into wrestlers from all around Australia. If you're a wrestler and you want to get on to Kick Out merch, message them on Instagram. Great people that I absolutely adore running that platform and making great merchandise. So kickout.com.au, contact the Kick Out team on their Instagram page. Jeff, is there anything else you want to say before we head off?
Just that it's really nice to have you back, man. And finally, hopefully next week, the whole band can be back together, either the 3-piece or with the guest saxophonist. With that Mo, he's got to be a saxophonist.
That's the only option.
Not a bass player with that Mo.
That's the only role with enough sex to it.
Yeah,
that's what I reckon.
So hopefully the 3 or 4 of us will be back next week. Todd, I hope you feel better. If you're in Queensland, head to PWL. If you're in Victoria and you're going to go to MCW, come and say good day. I don't know where I'm sitting yet. I think I'm downstairs this time. They move me around a lot. I'm a utility player. I'm happy to be wherever. I might be standing with Welchie and Nick Galea as well. But I hope that everyone's well and has a great week. There you go.
I also want to say just quickly, when we say that we're going to be at these shows, please say hello. We love saying hi to you guys. Genuinely, one of the only problem I have with Alex Fireheart is that we've been in the same building multiple times and they haven't actually introduced themselves to me. I want to say hello. We're a big, happy family here in Australian wrestling. We would love to meet all of you. So please, all the love out to everyone who is listening. If you want to share it with a friend, that would be awesome, right? This is a weird little thing that we do because we love it. Once a week, we're getting together just to talk smack about wrestling because we truly, deeply love it. And we hope you guys love listening to it. So share it around, get out there, get to local wrestling shows. They are the best, and we want to see you at them. So on behalf of Jeff Setti, my name is Lachlan Albert. And until next time, have a good one.
So yeah.
Your arms are just too short to box with God. Hold one. Andre. Yeah!